Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Duffy. I'm the director of the Holland Land Office Museum here in Batavia, and we are very excited to be awarded a Chamber of Commerce Award this year. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about where we've come from and our history here as it stretches back basically to the beginning of Genesee County. Now, the building that we're standing in, the Holland Land Office, was actually built in 1815. It was commissioned by Joseph Ellicott, who was the resident agent of the Holland Land Company and actually founded Batavia. So the land company has been here as long as Batavia and Genesee County have been here. The building operated for about 30 years as the Holland Land Office, and then went through a number of changes from the 1840s up until 1894, when it was actually in such a dilapidated state that it was going to be torn down. That was until the Holland Purchase Historical Society was formed, headed by Mary Richmond and John Kennedy, and they resolved to save the Holland Land Office and then make it into a museum. And they were able to do that by paying off the mortgage through membership sales. And on October 13th, 1894, the museum was christened as the Holland Land Office Museum. And the Historical Society has essentially operated the museum since then, since 1894. So we're actually going on our 130th year of being in operation as a museum. Today we encompass more than just the Holland Purchase history, though that is still a major part of the exhibits and the stories that we tell. But we tell the stories of all of Genesee County to the best of our ability, which includes the agricultural history, military, industrial, and cultural organizations that have come and gone throughout the 200-plus year history of Genesee County. So we're very excited to show you around and tell you a little bit about what we do here in case you haven't been here in a while.
Hi, my name's Tyler Angora and I'm the curator here at the Holland Land Office Museum. I'm in charge of all the exhibit spaces and the entire 20,000 piece collection which we carry upstairs. And currently I'm standing in our new exhibit, 98 Years Since the Sun Went Out, which focuses on Batavia in 1925 when the last total solar eclipse occurred over this area, which also talks about what Genesee County and Batavia, New York looked like during the 1920s. One of the largest parts of this new exhibit is the exhibition of our fashion collection from the 1920s. Our clothing collection has not really been on display for about 2 decades, so this is really the reintroduction to the Holland Land Office clothing collection, which has been hidden upstairs for many years. On this wall, what we wanted to show in this exhibit is what Genesee County and Batavia really looked like during the 1920s. So all the objects that you see within the cases are from either businesses that were here, fashion objects that would have been worn by either men or women, and some technological advances that occurred, such as cameras, typewriters, and telephones. The 1920s were really a progressive era for not only the Society of America, but for also the technological advances of what we see today. We show a lot of photos of what Batavia really looked like, so you really get to step back into the 1920s. And we would like to thank Max Pies for sponsoring 98 Years Since the Sun Went Out, as they are one of the only businesses that are still around from the 1920s. Where we are now currently standing is in the new Joseph Ellicott and Robert Morris room, which opened alongside 98 Years Since the Sun Went Out. This is the first redesign of this history since probably the early 2000s, and it is brand new and people will get to re-experience this history alongside the new history we're adding. In addition to the newly redesigned Joseph Ellicott and Robert Morris room, we are now standing in the new Land Office room, which talks all about the Land Office itself and the indigenous issues that occurred from the Land Office. You get to see the Land Office in a new light with redesigned history and a new flow to the room, along with newly implemented pieces into our indigenous display. It is a newly revamped room with a new history, and we hope you enjoy it.
And now we come to one of our more popular exhibit spaces that we have at the museum here, and this is our West Wing, or we call it the Military Wing, as we have items from the military history of Genesee County dating back all the way to the Revolutionary War and going all the way up to the post-Vietnam era. And we have many items featuring many local heroes, as well as just general artifacts from different time periods of America's wars. So we have many important figures that we like to highlight from the military history of Genesee County. First and foremost is Emory Upton. who was a general during the Civil War and was a revolutionary thinker in terms of military tactics for the Army, and is often called the father of the modern Army. We have other Civil War soldiers, including Charles Rand, who's called the first volunteer of the Civil War, as well as a Medal of Honor winner, and Ely Parker, who was a Native American chief from the Tonawanda Reservation who served on General Grant's staff and also served in the White House with General Grant as well. Then we have items from the War of 1812, Revolutionary War, up to World War I, World War II, and Vietnam. And probably our most infamous or famous artifact, our Genesee County gibbet, which was used to execute prisoners at the Genesee County Jail, as well as evidence from the Linden murder cases. So it's not purely military, but it also works in the crime and punishment angle as well. So I'd like to welcome you to the East Wing here at the museum. This room might look somewhat more empty than the other rooms, but that's because it serves many different purposes. It is also an exhibit space, and in here we talk about more of the 20th century and more recent history of Batavian Genesee County. And our biggest focus in here is the Richmond family, Dean and Mary Richmond, who were the biggest mover and shakers in Batavia in the 19th century. But they were responsible for building the Richmond Memorial Library, as well as saving the Holland Land Office from destruction. But we also have items relating to the agricultural history and manufacturing history of our area, as well as some of the cultural institutions, such as the Genesee Symphony Orchestra and famous politicians like Barbara Conable. On top of that, we even have a small art gallery within the room where we have rotating art exhibits dealing with local artists. But the main purpose of this room is for hosting events, as we have all our guest speakers, Java with Joe, trivia, and as well as many workshops and camps within this space that is available to community members to use as well. And be sure on your way out to stop and see all the unique books and local souvenirs that we have at the Joseph Ellicott Book and Gift Shop, the only bookstore in Batavia. So it's the perfect place for that local history nut in your life to find something to sit down and have a good read with.
The 2023 Special Recognition of the Year, Holland Land Office Museum.